everyone, welcome to another episode of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is episode 28, and today it is Saturday, April 29th, and it's a really nice day here today in Seattle. It's super sunny and it's also local yarn store day. I didn't go to any yarn stores today to celebrate, but it sounds like there is some celebrations going on at La Mercerie today on Bainbridge Island, and so I'm hoping that everyone or whoever was able to go had a lot of fun, and anyone else who has stuff for local yarn store day, I hope you had a lot of fun as well. And yeah, speaking of which, I just want to say also that there's the explorerknits Seattle collection that was available for online orders through La Mercerie this morning, and for kind of like local yarn store day, and I was not able to buy some yarn through there, although I really didn't need it since I actually went to the pop-up about a month ago or so. So I really didn't need to buy more yarn, but I did have something else to do at the same time that the yarn got released this morning. So if you were able to get your hands on it, I hope that you enjoy your yarn. And yeah, so that is today, and we'll just get started with the normal kind of things that I talk about. Again, this is a video podcast where I talk mostly about knitting things, sometimes crochet things, sometimes sewing things, and then just a whole bunch of yarn because I love hand-dyed yarn. So yeah, and today's going to be a kind of long episode, I think, because I got in 2 orders of yarn pre-orders this past week, and so I will be sharing those at the end of the video. And I will also I've seen some comments saying that you guys like to hear about my plans for yarn, and even though I do come up with plans when I buy the yarn, I prefer to talk about my plans, I think, once I have the yarn to actually show on the video. So yeah, so at the end of this video I'll show you my acquisitions and kind of talk about my pattern plans and matches for those yarn as well. Okay, so with the normal contents of these videos, I'll start with what I am wearing today. It is not a newly made object. I think I finished this in like January or December, a few months ago. So anyway, this is the outline tank. I don't think that I wore it in a previous video. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, this is the outline tank by Jessie Maed of Jessie Maed Designs. And the yarn I use is explorerknits Denali Sock in the colorway Strawberry Swirl. And I made size small, which I think is the second smallest size. And I used US 4 size needles to make this top. So I will stand up and show you what that looks like. It is kind of a cropped top. I think I might have added some length to it versus how long the pattern says to make it. And this final measurements for me, I got 36 inches in circumference, so this is about 5 inches of positive ease on me. I think next time I make this, I will make a size smaller, but this is totally fine, and it has those like drop stitch details that make it really fun and cute. And since it's really warm today, I thought that it would be a nice thing to wear because I don't want to wear a sweater right now because it's too hot. But yeah, so that is what I am wearing today. It is a older finished object, but I do have 2 finished objects for this week, so I can start off with, I think, the one that was the most predictable for me to finish, which is my socks. So these are my first self-striping socks, and so the yarn, I mean, the whole reason for making these socks were to use the self-striping yarn because it was my first purchase of a self-striping yarn, and it was really fun to make. It felt like it worked up really quickly because of just the whole thing about knitting stripes, and you just kind of want to get to the next stripe. And the pattern I used for this was the Thursday socks. The pattern name is Thursday Socks by Sarah Opie, and they are a toe up sock, and the heel is that heel flap and gusset. And I thought the construction was really cool, like how this is done from toe up instead of cuff down, because that's how I usually make my socks, is cuff down. But the reason why I decided to use a toe up pattern for these socks is because I wanted to make 2 pairs of these socks, and I wasn't sure how much yarn I was going to end up using, and so I think it's a bit easier to predict how much yarn, or like when to stop knitting a sock, because when you end on the leg part of the sock, you can just stop whenever you want and just make sure it matches up with the other one. So these are the finished socks. And the yarn is from tinyhumanknits, and the color is from the Lord of the Rings kind of like color collection she did, and the name of these colors is Po-Tay-Toes. And I thought that was really fun. And then I also used the mini skein just for the heels, so I'm hoping that it'll last. I didn't weigh my yarn yet, so I don't know how much yarn these took up, but I'm hoping that if I just knit the heels with the mini skein, that it'll last for 4 socks. Yeah, so these are my first finished objects. I did not wash or block them yet. I've just been wearing them since I finished it, but they'll eventually get a nice blocking. But yeah, so these are the socks. Oh, I also want to say last time I was a little worried about having the colors match between each of these socks, but I think I got them matched up pretty good, like being identical on where the stripes land on the socks. And all I had to do was, since it was toe up and I start with this yellow color, when I worked the second sock, I just kept working until until where I kind of like visually thought that the yellow stopped, and then I just like cut the yarn and started on the more white color. So that's kind of how I just made sure that the colors matched up, because I think when I started the first sock, I just started straight from whatever was the first color in the skein, and I think the yellow was just a bit smaller than how much it is for each like stripe. I think just because it was like the first color. But yeah, I think it matched up pretty well. So that was a plus, and I don't feel that nervous about making a second pair of these next. Okay, then, oh, and one more thing, the sock pattern I made size 3, and I used US 1 needles, and I think my gauge was small, so it ended up being, I think, 7 inches in circumference versus I think that would have been a size 4, but since my gauge is big, I had to go down a size in order to make the sizing work. But yeah, so they fit me well. And then the next finished object I have, if you've been watching my previous videos, I don't know how much, maybe a few months, is when I started this project, and it is finally done. This is the Lofi Shawl, and the Lofi Shawl pattern is by Bridget, bzbeeknits on Instagram, and the yarn I used is Woolberry Fiber Co in the Berry Natural base in the colorway Hello Autumn. And it is done. So I can't even it's so big that I can't even show the whole thing on here. But I'm really happy that it's done, and as far as how much yarn I use, I told myself that I wanted to use as much of all of the 3 skeins of this colorway I had as much as possible, and I think my ball of yarn at the end was just really small. I definitely, I wonder if I could have made a couple more rows, or maybe just 1 more row, but the rows this shawl grows, the rows get longer and longer as you knit it, and so my prediction on how much yarn I would need to bind off, I was getting a little nervous, and so I actually did the exact number of repeats that the pattern says, and it worked out perfectly with how much yarn I had. So I used pretty much 3 full skeins of yarn, and it's very cozy, and I really like the pattern. I like how it looks, how the stitch pattern looks with the yarn and the variegation of the colors, and I think it's just a really nice shawl and wrap and scarf to wear. And it's a bit hot right now to even think about wearing a shawl, but when it's cool, it'll be super comfortable to just put on and be really nice. And yeah, a couple of days ago, I went to the tulip farms in Skagit Valley, or I went to one, and it was a nice sunny day, and my mom wore this there. So yeah, I'll probably post some pictures on Instagram soon of that. But yeah, so this is the Lofi shawl. I also did not block this yet, but it'll get a good blocking at some point. So yeah, this is, again, the Lofi shawl. And I made size 2, which is the larger size. There is a smaller size, which is size 1. But I made size 2, used up pretty much 3 full skeins, and I used US 2 needles to make this. Okay, so yeah, so those were my 2 finished objects for the week. I think that was pretty good, and I really enjoyed working on them this week, and I just felt very motivated to just work on the things that were like really close to being done, or that would be really quick to be done. So it was definitely like socks, and then just finish up the Lofi shawl. Okay, and on to my works in progress. I worked on 3 other things this week. So the first one I'll talk about is just an update on one of my test knits. This is the Color Tip Tee by emweecurt, and here it is. So it might not look any different than the last time I showed it, because I'm just working on the body now, and I think I have 2 more inches to work on the body before I can work on the ribbing, which I'm planning on making the ribbing in a blue yarn color, and so I'm pretty much just working towards getting to that part and just then having even more pops of color on this tee. But it's been really enjoyable. I brought it in the car with me to work on because it's just stockinette knitting in the round, which is just really nice, and just kind of like, you know, you don't really have to focus too hard on it. You just kind of like keep knitting, and so that's been really nice. And yeah, just for a yarn reminder, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, for the main color, I am using Lavenderfiberco in the Ritzy sock base in the colorway Nimbus, which I think from far away you probably can't tell that it's a variegated color, but up close you can see that there's like pink and blue pastel colors on the yellow base here. And then for the collar, the sleeves, and then eventually the hem, and then the pocket, or the top part of the pocket, I will be using Sewrella minis from the summer Tonals collection. And yeah, so pink, green, blue for the hem of the body, and then for the pocket hem, or the pocket, like the top of the pocket, I'll probably use the yellow. I think that's the other yarn color that I plan on using. So yeah, we're almost there, and I think it's going to be really cute, and I want to make a bunch more of these in different colors because that'll be really fun. And yeah, so I am test knitting the size 2, and I was able to get gauge with US 3 needles, which is the recommended needle size in the pattern. Yeah, so this is really fun. I kind of wish it was done today so that I could wear it on the podcast, because yeah, it's a warm day and it would be nice to wear like a t-shirt. But yeah, so this still a work in progress, and I'm slowly getting there. And then the other thing that I've been working on is my Birch Pullover. I have picked this up again, and I actually finished the second sleeve. I finished it this morning, so it's not like I spent a whole week on it, but so now it has 2 full sleeves, and I think that's pretty good progress. And yeah, yarn is Woolberry Fiber Co in the Berry Natural base in the colorway I Smell Snow, and I am knitting size 1, and I'm using US 1.5 needles to make this. So yeah, I mean, I actually don't remember which side of sleeve I finished this morning. Might be the left side. I'm not sure, but yeah, I did finish the second sleeve this morning, and so now I finally put the body back on needles. And one thing I did change about working the body, and since I only worked like 2 rows so far, I don't know how it looks so far, but in a previous video I talked about how the beginning of round marker is in the front here, and it's like front off center. And so if you can see, because I'm using a variegated yarn to make this, you can tell where the color, there's kind of a color jog. I think that's the right kind of wording. So there's just a slight, like you can tell that the lines of color do not ever pass this part where the beginning of round marker is. And it's not that noticeable, but once you see it, I feel like you can't like stop seeing it. So, and it's just because of, I think, how the stitch pattern works, because every other row is a different kind of, like you purl, it's half fisherman's rib, so you will purl an entire row, and the next row is when you do kind of like that knit below purl, knit below purl. So it just creates that look. And so I was planning on moving the beginning of round, or at least where it switches off, to the back center, but then someone in the comments mentions something about having it be on the side, so like right where the side seam is, and I think that's a lot smarter, and I didn't think about it, so thank you to whoever mentioned it. So I did move my beginning of round marker to be under the arm on the side, where that, yeah, I think it'll be more hidden on the side versus in the back where you'll still be able to see it. So that was smart. I really like it. And so far, again, like I've only worked like 2 rows in it, so I can't really see, I can't see the color jog on the side and see how that looks yet, but I think that that'll just work out a lot better than right in the front. So looking forward to that. I was trying to figure out, but when I moved the beginning of round marker to the side, I realized that for some projects you can just, if it's just knitting, like stockinette knitting in the round, you can literally just move the marker somewhere else and that can just be your beginning of round. But for this one you can't really do that because again, like every other row needs to be a different stitch pattern. You can't just, or can you? No, so like you have to just finish. So what I did was I finished working around up until my old beginning of round marker, which was in the front, so that every stitch on my needles were the same. So for me, that was just all of them were just purled. And then what I did was I slipped all of the stitches from there till the underarm, and then just put my marker there and then continued on with the next row of pattern. So I'm hoping that that works out and that didn't create some kind of weird, like a weirder jog because I just slipped some stitches, but I wasn't sure how else to do it because I would need to start, yeah, like all the stitches needed to be of this work the same way before I moved the beginning around, if that makes any sense. So far it looks okay, but again, like I need to work more rows to see how it turned out. But anyway, so we'll probably get an update on that in next week's video. But I am just happy to be working on the body now because it'll just be straight half fisherman's rib knitting for forever and ever, because when I stopped to work on the sleeves, I only had, like, it's not even an inch of the body done. So I have a ton of knitting on the body to do for this sweater. But it's exciting that the sleeves are done. So yeah, so that is my Birch Pullover progress. And then let's see what else. I think I mentioned everything I wanted to for that. So this has still been enjoyable to work on. I know people say this is like a slog project because, I mean it is, because it's half fisherman's rib stitch. So it's just a lot of knitting and a lot of yarn, and it is using, the gauge is very small, like there's a lot of stitches. So I think maybe working on the body will start to feel very like time consuming, but the sleeves weren't too bad, even the second sleeve. So, but anyway, Birch Pullover, and I'll probably work on the body of this coming week while I'm still feeling kind of the motivation to work on it and do the half fisherman's rib stitch. And then my last work in progress for this week is actually a new cast on. I rewarded myself with a new cast on because I did finish some projects this week, but also it's because I got accepted into another test knit. I know I told myself I wouldn't apply for another test knit for a while, but this one came out, so I applied and I got it. So the test knit is for Sari Nordland, and it is the Sunset camisole. And so I started it, and I actually got kind of a good amount of it done so far. Yeah. So here it is. And okay, I tied these here. These are not the actual straps. I just tied it because I wanted to make sure that the triangles were in the right spot. But yeah, so this is what I have so far. And I'm looking at my notes here. So Sunset Camisole by Sari Nordland. And the size I am test knitting is size 1, which is the smallest size. And I got gauge with US 2 needles, which I think is a needle size smaller than the recommended. But that's just because I do tend to knit loosely. I think my gauge always changes depending on like my mood, I think. So, but I either knit pretty much close to whatever the pattern recommends, or I usually have to size down for my needles. That kind of seems to be the trend. But anyway, yeah, so I'm using US 2 needles. And the yarn I am using for this is Paisley Knits in the Sailing Sport base, which is the baby alpaca base. It's a sport weight, and the colorway I'm using is Mount Fuji, so it was from her Japan collection. And I really like how it's turning out and how that color looks. So now I'm just working on the body for this, and I got a pretty good amount done from where the underarm is. And so that's how it's looking so far. And if you haven't seen the Sunset Camisole yet, it's a really cute like camisole, and then it also has like right across the center, like down diagonally, is a ruffle. And so I'm pretty excited to see how that is worked up and how it looks on this. But I'm hoping it'll be cute. And I already have plans also to make more of these as well. I'm thinking about making a red one of these with my explorerknits yarn from the Seattle collection, the Pike Place colorway. So we'll see. I was thinking about using it for the test knit, but I decided to just go with another yarn first to make sure that everything kind of works out with the test knit, because sometimes for test knits you just don't know, if you'll have to rip back and kind of like work out some things if you need to. So I wanted to use another yarn first before I kind of dive into using that red yarn, because yeah, I'll be planning on making that top or using that red yarn for a top to wear at the Flock Fiber Fest in August. So anyway, yeah, I used this yarn for this, and also the pattern is written for a sport weight yarn, and this is sport weight yarn, and so I kind of just decided to go with that first. But I'm liking overall how it looks and how it's going. One interesting thing is this is the first time, well, this is one of the rare times that I'm actually doing what people recommend you do when you work with hand-dyed yarns, which is to alternate skeins so that it'll help to prevent pooling, color pooling, and also if the skeins look different with each other, that you won't be able to see kind of, there's like a clear line on where you started your other skein of yarn. And I decided to do that because I think it's also easiest for me to see if skeins look different from each other after you wind them up. And so I only have 2 skeins, and I wound both of them up. And after winding them up, you can tell that they're just slightly different in color. So I do think that this one looks lighter than this one. So I think you can also, like, I can see it in the camera as well, that they are just slightly different. And so I decided to take this opportunity to try out alternating skeins again, because I did it before and I really didn't like working with it. Like, my yarn just felt like it got all tangled and it was creating a jog for every round when I was alternating like every round. And so I just decided not to do it. And also it didn't really bother me too much, but this time I decided to take this opportunity to learn a new technique. So the way that I am alternating skeins for this is doing helical knitting or helical stripes, which is when you're kind of just working to me it feels very much like you're working 2 rounds at a time versus one yarn or one round and then switching. And so in this way, like, you are getting every other round is your different skein of yarn, but you're not actually, the way that you're knitting it is you're kind of knitting them together. So if you haven't heard of what it is, I think that my explanation is maybe not the best, but yeah, I realized, like, I've heard of this technique before, but I kind of just thought, like, the only times I've seen it is to make stripes, like stripes every other row, and I don't really wear or make striped things super often, so I was like, I don't think I need to learn how to do that. But then I did watch a video and I saw them saying, oh yeah, it's a technique that people also use for alternating skeins for hand-dyed yarn if your skeins look a little different. And so yeah, so that is why I am using this technique for that. And in this way, that you can alternate skeins every other round and there is no jog. So you're not having to carry up yarn like every other row. So yeah, it's really cool how it works. I don't know how whoever created this technique kind of thought about it, but it's working out really well, and it's a lot easier to do than I thought it was, because you pretty much just have to slip stitches and then you just change your yarn, and so that's fine. The only thing that I had to kind of think about was that this pattern does have shaping in the body, and so it's not just straight knitting for the rest of the body. There are some increases so that it kind of gets a bit wider towards the bottom hem. So figuring out where to put those increases while doing the helical stripes was a bit of a, I had to think about it, but I think I figured it out. I just make sure that the yarn strand that I'm doing the increases on, I just use that, whatever round it is, and whenever I get to the part where I do increases, I just use that color yarn. So we'll see. I think it looks fine so far. And yeah, so that is that. I'm trying to see if I can, maybe if I hold it upside down, I'll at least be able to like stretch it a bit wider so you can see it better, but now it's upside down. But yeah, no color pooling. Although Paisley Knits yarn doesn't color pool on me, even when I'm just working with one strand, so I wasn't worried about the color pooling at all. It was just the slight difference in color between the 2 skeins. But it's looking totally fine. And then as far as like, so the helical striping in the round is kind of, that's what I'm doing for the body, but when I made the triangle parts for the top or the front and the back, that's worked flat, and so I was trying to figure out how to alternate skeins for that, and I just decided to switch the yarn every 2 rows so that I'm switching the yarns on the same side every time. So I was wondering if you'd be able to tell, like, from this part of switching or the yarn being switched every 2 rows versus every other row on the body, like if you could tell the difference in that kind of like pattern. because I did alternate skeins on a sweater a couple years ago, and you could totally tell where I switched when it was every row I switched yarns, or if it was every like 2 rows or every 4 rows. I was like experimenting, and you could totally tell the difference in pattern. So I was worried that that was going to happen again, because when I worked this part flat, I did not want to switch every row, because then I would have to switch. I'd have to like cut the yarn every single row, and so anyway, but I don't think you can really, actually, maybe you can kind of tell, but it's not really a big deal. Okay, so yeah, so that is the Sunset Camisole by Sari Nordland in testing. So let's see. I am also using my new needles. I think I talked about them 2 or 3 weeks ago. My size US2 needles, my wooden ones. So yeah, I think I have, when I bought like those 4 fixed circular needles a few weeks ago, that I pretty much have projects on all of them already, and one of them's waiting for a project. So but anyway, so this has been a good project and feels really nice to learn a new knitting technique and kind of have it be applicable to the project, versus me just trying to knit something just to learn a technique. It's nice to be able to learn the technique for specific projects. So that's been really nice. I think I mean, it does look like I've got a lot of it done, because I started it this week. So yeah, so we'll see how this one goes. And then that is all of my works in progress. And next I have yarn acquisitions to talk about. And yeah, I got 2 of my pre-orders in. I will start with my Sewrella one. I got the Disneyland collection. It was last month's, like, so again, if you don't follow Sewrella, she is doing, I think about every month, she's doing like a greatest hits. And so she's bringing back, instead of doing a greatest hits collection at the beginning of the year, every month, or about every month this year, she is bringing back an entire collection, like a previous collection, and not only bringing it back, but adding some like new colorways sometimes. And if a collection didn't have like wool washes or scents, that she's also creating them for like the comeback this year. And so that's been really fun to follow along. So I did get my order in from the Disneyland collection last month, and so I can share with you what I got from that. So I didn't get too much. I've been trying really hard, but it might not seem like that because I still buy a lot of yarn, but I have been trying to hold back, especially because from the Sewrella collections, because if she is bringing back an entire collection about every month, like that is just a lot of good yarn to buy. Like, so I really can't be buying that much yarn from an entire collection every month. But anyway, okay, so I'll start off with these. So this is the classic sock base, 100% superwash merino, and this is the colorway Hollywood Studios, and it is, I got it because, I mean, I think I've been trying to get some darker colored yarns because I'm usually very like light pastel colors, and I've just been wanting to try to get some darker yarns, and so this is a very like dark red, I don't want to say rose, but it's very like maybe maroon. Maroon's a good, I think, color name to describe this, but I really do like this color, and so I got 2 skeins of fingering weight, and I don't have a pattern in mind, but I think 2 skeins of fingering weight is a good amount of yarn for me to make pretty much almost any tank top. So this will be good. I kind of have this prepared for any new tank top designs that come out this summer. So now I have these, and they'll just be waiting for a tank top pattern to come out for me to want to make. So that is these. And then I got this color, which is very predictable. Of course, I would get a pink. This is the cashmere sock base in the colorway New Orleans Square. And so the cashmere sock base is 80% superwash wool, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. And I just really like this pink. And I got 3 skeins of this. Each one is 435 yards for 100 grams. I got 3 skeins so that I can make the Farfa top by the Knit Pearl Girl, which is a really cute top. I didn't even realize, so on her Instagram, her like profile picture is of her wearing a red Farfa top. I also don't know if that's how you say it, but yeah, it's a really cute top. It has kind of like sleeves that are maybe about like this length, and they do kind of flare out, and there's a really cute like tie in the back. And I just really like knitted things that have ties or like bow ties on it, and so it looks like a really cute design, something cute to wear in warmer weather. And so I am planning to make that with the pink yarn here. And even though I didn't make the pattern yet, I have plans to also make multiple of those because I think it's really cute and super wearable. So yeah, so these skeins, that's the current plan for these skeins. And then I also got some Surrey. I got 4 skeins of Surrey in this colorway. So this is the Surrey lace base from Sewrella. So it is the 74% baby Surrey alpaca and 26% silk. And I got this variegated color. It is Wildest Ride in the Wilderness. And so it's variegated, but it comes off very like, there's not like too many different colors in it. It's very just like that lighter cream base with some multiple like tones of that pink, maroon, purpley kind of color. And I'm pretty sure I have some ideas for this, but like basically if I like a Surrey, I'll buy 4 or 5 skeins of it to make, for sure I can make a cumulus blouse with 4, and if not, there's some other patterns that I've been thinking about making with Surrey held double. I just haven't tried them yet, so I just have a whole collection of sweater quantities of Surrey, which is 4 or 5 skeins for me. And yeah, so I think these will be really cute when I eventually make something with it. Then the last colorway I got from this collection, I only got 1 skein, and it's this one. This is the classic sock base in the colorway California Adventure, which I think really matches like the pictures and of like, you know, California Adventure, and it's very colorful, has lots of bright colors in there, and I really like the color. And every time I like a color, I always feel like I want a sweater quantity, but since I'm telling myself to like just try and buy less yarn, I still really wanted this color, so I decided 1 skein and then I can just make socks with it. That's kind of been what I've been trying to tell myself, is that if there is something, and for example, like it's very variegated, and so it might be just like a lot for a sweater. Like, I mean, I can definitely see myself making some kind of top or sweater with this, but socks would also be really cute for something that is very bright and colorful. If wearing it as a whole garment might just be kind of a lot, or just maybe not something I look to grab and wear on a daily basis. And so with socks are always fun to make in really cute colors. So I think this will be really fun, and it came out really cute like in person. So yeah, so California Adventure, just 1 skein in the classic sock base. Okay, then, oh, and then just the last thing that I did buy from this collection was a wool wash, because I think, to me, Sewrella has the best wool washes because they work really well and they also smell really great. So I literally just have a whole drawer of wool washes, and they're like all Sewrella, and I just really like them. So I got this one in, I was gonna say colorway, it's not colorway, in the scent Bippity Boppity Boo, which is a really cute name. So yeah, so kind of always get wool washes when Sewrella has a collection. So yeah, so that is everything that I got from the Disneyland collection. And then the next yarn acquisition that I want to talk about is something that kind of has a funny story to go with. So I got yarn from the Olivia and Oliver Fibers Warm Neutrals collection, which I think was a couple months ago. It was a pre-order, and she is based in the Netherlands, and so it was the first time that I bought yarn from her. But when I saw the colors for this collection, like the entire thing was just like, I loved how all of the yarns looked together. So I bought yarn, and it was so sad because when I got the shipping notification that my yarn was coming in, so I was following it, and it finally reached, it said it was in Seattle, and I was like, okay, any day now it's going to get here, and then I can like cast on something with the yarn and I get to see it. And then it said, oh, the address is wrong, and it's sending it back to the sender. And I was like, okay, but the address is right, so I don't know what went wrong there. Whatever happened, like the mail people just like later on. So I did email Tam, who is the yarn dyer and owner of Olivia and Oliver Fibers, and she was super, super helpful, and yeah, just like checked with the whoever the mailing whatever system, and they were like, oh yeah, the address was correct, so I don't know why it just like sent it back. Like it literally was in Seattle and it just got sent back. So, but she was so nice and helpful, got the package sent back, and it finally came in, and so I am really, really excited to get the yarn, and it looks wonderful, and it's honestly kind of even better in person if I do, say so myself. And I'm just, yeah, the long wait for it was definitely worth it, is what I have to say about that. Okay, so I will show you, actually I'll just show them all together first because they look really cute together, but I'm not using them all in the same project. But I got 4 different colorways from this collection, and so the first ones I want to talk about are these 2. I am planning on using these 2 in a project together, so this, let me hold up one at a time first. So this one, and all of them I got in the classic sock base. Yeah, so the classic sock base for her yarn is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And it is 425 meters for 100 grams, which I don't know what that is in yards. But yeah, and it's 2-ply. So this first colorway I got is called Woodland. And it is so pretty. Like, it is the perfect, like, dark brown, pink, variegated yarn. Like, I really, really like, I knew for sure that I was getting this colorway when I saw all of her posts for this collection. And I think that looks really pretty. And there's, like, also these really pretty, like, dark purple speckles in there. And so that's really nice. And then I also got this colorway, which is called Feather, which is a cream base with just like hints of pink in there as well. I mean, this whole collection is pretty much like on the pinky side, and so I just like all the colors. And again, this also has like those darker speckles, just like very lightly throughout. So I just really like how this one looks as well. And I am planning to use both of these together. I did get 2 skeins of each, and I am planning on making a 2-color brioche shawl or scarf. I think it's a shawl. It's very large. It's very long. By Sari Nordland. I forget the pattern name off the top of my head, but once I cast it on, I will for sure talk about it and share like the exact pattern. But it's a 2-color brioche shawl scarf, and I'm planning to use these 2. I've been wanting to make that pattern for a really long time, but there just hasn't been 2 colors that I wanted to use together to make that project. But I saw these and I thought that would be a perfect combination, and I think it should be like enough contrast for it to look really interesting and nice. Okay, so yeah, so that's the plan for these. And then these are the other 2 that I got. So first, this one is the colorway Burnt Umber. And this is, I think I've lately been really liking colors like this, where it's just kind of like this dark red, orangey brown kind of color. And so, yeah, I mean, this came out really, really nice. And even though it looks very like one color from like far away, when you look at it close, you can tell like there are portions of like red and brown. And I just really, really like how that looks. And it looks really pretty in person. I think so much prettier than, like, I don't think the camera can even do this color justice. Like, in person, it looks really nice and just lots of depth in the color. And so that's exciting. I got 3 skeins of this. And then I also got this one, which I think this is another, like, if you saw the whole collection, that this would be a predictable color that I would get. This is Pink Marble, and I think that describes this color perfectly. And this is a variegated pink, sandy, kind of neutral looking color. And I got 1 skein of this. 1 skein or 2 skein? I think I got 1 skein. And yeah, I am actually planning on using both of these in one project. Again, I don't remember the name of the sweater off the top of my head, but when I cast on, I will share details on that. But this will be my main color, and then there is like a band of like a flower color work like at the top, and I'm planning on using this for the flowers. And I think that that'll be kind of a nice, again, like contrast color that'll still kind of show up, and I think we'll work together. I hope. I'm still very like iffy. I'm not sure if I'm like the best at picking colors, but I think I've definitely gotten better at picking colors to go together in projects, and so we'll see once I cast these on, like if what I'm imagining kind of comes out the way that I think it will. But yeah, so those are the plans for these yarns. I am so happy that these yarns came in. Like, again, I did have to wait a while, but I'm not like, it is not Tam's fault at all. It was just the whole mailing thing, but I'm just glad that they finally got to me safely, and that, I mean, the wait was totally worth it. And I almost was going to cast on something as soon as I got the package, but I wanted to be able to show you all in the video of what these skeins look like before I just like open up the skeins and wind them up. So yeah, so probably this week I might cast one of these on. I don't know which one I want to cast on because they're both so good, but I can't possibly cast them both this week, can I? And they're both big projects. Like, one's a sweater and the other is like a huge 4 skein shawl, scarf shawl. Actually, this one's also 4 skeins in total, so I don't know. We'll see which one I'm feeling to cast on. So, but yeah, so that is it for my acquisitions. There's been a lot of acquisitions. I think last week I also had yarn to talk about, and oh, from last week's video, there was, so Woolberry had her Caboose collection released yesterday, which was, oh no, yeah, wait, Friday? No, Thursday, so 2 days ago from when I'm filming this. And that was, I was planning my patterns and yarn purchase pretty much up until a few hours before it got, the collection got released, and ooh, that was a big, there was a lot of yarn and colorways that got purchased on that one because the yarn was so cute. I surprised myself though, because the colors that really called to me in that collection were the more like neutral colors, and so that was the one that I really liked, was the Corgi Caboose colorway, and so I got sweater quantities of that. I also got sweater quantities of Rabbit Rump, and I'm planning on making a cardigan with that. And the other one was, oh my gosh, what was the other sweater quantity I got? Well, I can look at my notes on my computer here on the side. So yeah, so let me start over. If you're curious about what I ordered from the Caboose collection, when I eventually get the yarn, I will share them again. But I did get the Bare Buns colorway in Surrey. I got Hummingbird Hiney, Corgi Caboose. Oh, Sheep Seat is the other one I really liked. Rabbit Rump, and then Pig Patootie, because that I think is my favorite pink in that collection. I know that there were a couple more pinks, but yeah, Pig Patootie. And oh, I am planning on, I know that Bethany, Woolberry Fiber Co, she said that some people were asking if we could do like, if people wanted to make tops in the Caboose yarn and then wear them and take a picture all together at Flock in August. So she posted that if you're planning on doing that, to just like email her and let her know like of which order that you make of just the Flock yarn. And so I am going to make a top in Pig Patootie for Flock. That's the plan. And so yeah, I'm planning on making the Luna tee, which that's also a pattern I've been wanting to make for a while and I just haven't yet. But it's also one that I want to make in a whole bunch of colors. So, but anyway, so I'll be making that pattern, I think. That's the plan for now. But for sure, some kind of top in the pig colorway. And so yeah, so that was my order from Woolberry. And then later today is Big Little Yarn Co., her collection, the Studio Ghibli collection. And so I think I have my plans for those, which I guess I can share now. I no promises that it won't get changed by tonight, but I am planning on getting the, oh, what is there's a dark purple colorway here that I don't have the name of right now, but it's one of the colors from Kiki's Delivery Service. So I'm definitely getting that dark purple. I really like that dark purple color. And then I absolutely need to have both of the colors from the color pairings from the Spirited Away like colorways, and I love both of them. I think they're the prettiest. Like, they are by far my favorite in her whole collection. So I am planning on using both of those colors in the same pattern. And so I'm thinking about making the Moonless sweater or the pullover by Jacqueline Cieslak, because I think that would be really cute. Like, one side would be one of the colors and the other side be the other color from this Spirited Away. So that's my current plan. And then I also love, and these are all the movies I love, like Kiki's Delivery Service, so cute, so fun. And then Spirited Away is just like childhood favorite movie. And then Howl's Moving Castle, I didn't see until later on, like in life, but I love Howl's Moving Castle as well. And so I also have to get both of those colorways. So, and I'm also planning on using those two colors in the same project as well. I think I'm gonna make the half and half triangles wrap, which is another pattern that I haven't made yet, but I have like 3 other yarn quantities for that I want to make all of these half and half triangle wraps, which I know is a huge project, but that's what I want to make. I think it'd be cute to make it with the House Moving Castle colors because I don't know why, but my favorite part of the movie, at least in the English dubbed version of it, which I watch both the English and the Japanese like speaking versions of the movie, but I love the part where Sophie is like, oh, my shawl! And so I thought it'd be cute to make the yarn to make a shawl with it, pretty much. So anyway, so that's my current plans for that. And then I also want to get, Totoro is another like favorite movie, and so I definitely want to get both of those colors as well. But I can't, like, I really like the colors, but this might be one that I either buy the sock set of or just one skein of each and then just figure out what to make with it later. I don't know. That one I still need to figure out what I'm going to do about those colors, but those are the other colors that I'm eyeing as well for this collection. It's a lot of yarn. So I'm just hoping that for the rest of the year, yarn dyers, please don't make such really cute yarn because I can't handle it. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's, now that is everything that I have to talk about today. Just so much yarn because a lot of yarn stuff I feel like is happening lately, and I'm kind of finally getting in like all of my orders. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, if you have been working on something while you are watching this video, let me know in the comments down below what yarn you're using, what pattern you're making, because I again love every opportunity to learn about new yarn, new patterns, like new designers, new yarn dyers, and all of that good stuff. And then, yeah, I hope you are having a great day on whichever day you are watching this. And yeah, I hope the weather's also been nice wherever you are, whether it's like nice and sunny if you like the sun, or just like nice and cool where you can just like keep wearing your knitted sweaters. So yeah, I will end it here for today. And if you want to, you can follow me on Instagram at arieknits. It's the same name as this podcast. I've been trying to be better about posting my finished objects, and I do have pictures of like my works in progress, but I just like keep forgetting or putting off posting them. But I have been trying. I will be posting, I have a lot of pictures from the tulip fields that I went to a few days ago, and so that should be coming up pretty soon for me to post about. And oh, another thing is today, the Uptown Tea by Tori Knits NYC on Instagram, that pattern came out and I got to test knit it, so it's really exciting. The pattern's out, so go check out that pattern. It was really fun to make. I wore it, I believe, in last week's video, so go check that pattern out as well if you're interested in a spring/summer tea design. And yeah, if you aren't subscribed to my channel here and you would like to subscribe, please do so. And yeah, so you can just keep track on when I upload next. I do try and record every Saturday and upload on Sundays, so that's been my schedule lately. And yeah, I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!